Are we good? Hey guys, welcome to Jerry's Live. As always, I'm your host, Amy Gardner-Dean. Today we are doing episode JL130. JL130, and we are going to be working with a special guest, Marla Morrison, who is going to be joining us. She's joining us from Jimmy's House of Wonderfulness, the Cool Art.
That's how I think of it.
Yes, Cool Art's Fine Art Collective. So we're going to start in just a moment with her. First, we're going to talk real quick about Art of the Carolinas. Super successful, super amazing. We met so many viewers, didn't we, girls?
It was awesome.
Not just at the meet and greet, but out on the floor, in the halls, in the elevators, everywhere. It was just really cool to see how many people watched the show and how much that they feel like that we've helped them learn, which is always kind of like makes you feel good. So thanks, guys. It was wonderful to meet all of you. Shout out to all my classroom peeps. They were awesome. I had 4 workshops and had a whole ton of fun with a whole bunch of really neat gals and guys. So it was just a really, really good weekend. But we're back to basics and we're back to Jerry's Live. So if you're interested in any of the materials that we're going to be showing here on the show today with Marla, you're going to go to the search box on jerrysartorama.com. You're going to type in that keyword JL130. That will take you to the supply list so you can see the items that we are using for yourself. So you are with the Fine Art Collective.
Yes.
Marla, what all do you do with the Fine Art Collective?
So many things. So many wonderful things. But yes, the Fine Art Collective. I've been with that crazy group for about 21 years.
Wow.
And we do all sorts of things. We get to do cool events like this, come to Jerry's and show off some materials. But what myself and the 15 of us across the country in North America, Canada, US, what we do is we'll go into colleges and universities and talk about the materials, field questions, and make some cool stuff. So that's kind of the main
That's
part of
really
the gig.
awesome. So you're almost taking a program like this with the Fine Art
Yes.
Collective and actually taking it to
Taking it to the peeps.
the people, which is a lot of times better because then they've got more immediate questions right there than this where they can't always see it up close and personal with the camera. So that's really cool. And plus it's the people that are going to be the artists of tomorrow. So
definitely. Yeah, and I was thinking about it just like I do, thinking about stuff, but I feel like I've learned so much more about materials from being part of the Fine Art Collective than I did in college. Love my school, but I've been steeped in art materials, and so I've been really glad to be a part of this group for such a long time. If you want to follow the journey with us, I'm going to write down our Instagram feed because you can get a ton of wonderful, I can't talk and write at the same time. Get tons of wonderful techniques and tips, and it's just at TFACNF, so Fine Art Collective North America. And if you want to follow me specifically, that's mine, Marla Morrison Art. So,
awesome. Well, that'll be on there as we do different things. They'll be able to see that on the thing, and if you girls can put that in the chat as well, that would be awesome. All right, well, we are doing really cool, fun printmaking with Liquitex products today in kind of a way you wouldn't normally expect. When you think printmaking, you think just your traditional printmaking inks. So I'm excited about this. And we're doing something that's functional, which makes it even better in that it's art that you can do that you can use for holiday celebrations and bring out and enjoy or even give as gifts.
Totally. Teacher gift time, people.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. And I've got to say hi to my kids. I've got a 13-year-old son and 8-year-old twins, boy and a girl, so hi. But yes, teacher gifts. I was thinking of that. This is perfect for that or other gifts for not teachers, but anyone. But yeah, super fun, easy way to cover a lot of area and then have art you can hold. To me, that's one of the greatest things about functional art. Love everything on the wall. It's beautiful to look at, but when you can pick up something and hold it and use it and enjoy it all season or all year, it's a really great thing. So,
awesome.
All right.
So where do we start? I'm very excited.
What I like to start with acrylics, I'm a pretty messy maker. So first thing, when I put some of this on, you're welcome to do it. This is Art Guard. It's just a little bit of barrier cream, and if you're going to help me, Amy, which I hope you will, you might want to put some on. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like a moisturizer. You want to put it on and let it set on your hands for just a minute or two, just because it'll be a little bit slippery. But then it's going to make it a lot easier to clean up your hands and stuff afterwards, so know that. But we're going to be working with the soft body colors today. I know they have a nice list for you if you want to use the colors that we're going to be using, but you of course can use whatever colors are interesting to you. Soft body range is fantastic for printmaking because it's a very versatile paint medium. The texture is nice. Kind of say it's like a heavy cream texture. It retains some brush stroke and some knife stroke, but it levels really nicely too, and it has fantastic covering power. So I want to squeeze some out so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. Let me mention the new jars too. So I don't know if you've seen, if you ever used soft body in the past, but these jars are pretty darn new, and I love them. The cap is easy on, easy off. That little satisfying click.
It clicks, yeah.
So what is it about the click? Oh, I guess that's why. But and then the nib or the tip here, you can cut to whatever depth you want for the paint to flow out at whatever speed you'd like. The jar is squeezable, so you're able to just get that lovely noise and squeeze and work as you go. But this is a transparent burnt sienna.
Can you flip to the overhead, Katie?
So this is a ton of paint out here. I could cover this entire canvas if I wanted to with this amount. But when you brush it out, you can see the lovely properties of this particular color. This is the mass tone or the color right out of the jar. And then stroking through here, you get to the undertone. And it's the undertone where you see either the white of the canvas showing through, or if you mix a color with white, like titanium white, or there's a color called transparent mixing white, you really see those subtleties. And to me, this is where this color really sings. It's in that undertone. So, but the soft body, you get the idea of the texture, and it's a fairly fast drying acrylic. So this, if we left this and came back in about 10 minutes, that's definitely going to be touch dry. This amount up here, it would start to get a skin on top, but it's not going to be dry through and through for, you know, a little while, maybe overnight probably. Well, not through and through, but it'll get touch dry. So you know where I'm going. All right. So the soft body range, I don't know if I already said, there's 100 colors in the palette. Another reason it's great for printmaking is that acrylics are permanent on fabric when dry. You don't have to heat set it. It's ready to go as long as you allow it to dry for 72 hours before you launder it. The other thing to mention too is whatever fabric you're working on, you want to be sure and wash it first so you can get rid of any of the contaminants that are going to be in the fabric. And two, I just think it helps it adhere a little better because you're getting rid of that kind of slick feel that.
Or if it's been starched at all.
Yes,
or
the
anything
starch.
like that.
Yeah, and I think there's probably all sorts of things they do to fabrics to when they for shipping, but you want to get that out of there so it doesn't sully up your paint. But anyways.
So you probably don't want to use a fabric softener or dryer sheets or anything like
Great
that
point.
when you're drying it.
Yeah, you probably don't need to use that. Yeah, the wool balls are fine. I don't know if you guys use that. I use that for and it was fine with any of the fabrics that I washed. So. What else to say? Oh, yeah, you can stack these jars. They're pretty cool. So, really a big fan of the soft body and the new containers. Here are the colors in detail. So, do I need to line this up better? Do I need to move it?
Can you go a little wider on that, Katie? Or do we need to? Oh, there we go. See? Perfect.
Okay.
Slide it up just a touch. There we go. Perfect.
Okay. So here's the transparent burnt sienna, red oxide, cad-free red medium, deep magenta, diox purple, titanium white, and transparent mixing white. Again, you can choose whatever colors you want, but I kind of wanted to go with some warm tones like you see with the reds, but also some deep, vibrant purples. So I also tried to choose some colors that were naturally transparent and some that were naturally opaque for layering. You're going to know if a color is transparent or opaque on our label. I don't know if you can see the little white square here. Oh, I'm used to demoing for people. So I'm trying to zoom. Want to zoom?
There you go. Slide it this way a little bit. There we go.
I know it's backwards, so do it now.
There we go.
Okay. Oh my God.
There's a
There you
delay.
go.
So there you go.
There. Okay. See that little white square? That tells you this is a transparent color. You'd see a black square if it's opaque. Why is that important? Well, even for traditional or for functional work, you might want to have something that you layer one color on top of another. So if you have a more opaque color, you might want to apply that first, and then you can get a lovely glaze on top. So it's good to know the transparency to opacity of the color that you're using. So, there. All right. The other thing to show on here, again, back to the undertone. This is the mass tone. Here's the undertone. This is titanium white. 50-50 mix with all the colors compared to a 50-50 mix with a color we have called transparent mixing white.
Wow.
I love it here. Yeah, you can see the difference,
That's a huge
right?
difference, yeah.
Diax purple is a nice purple, but to me in mass tone it always seems a little bit dead.
It's almost black.
It
in a
really
way,
is.
yeah.
You can't even tell it's a purple. So when you put it in a tint, titanium goes a little ice creamy,
Yeah.
right? The mixing white gives you that tint, but it doesn't kill the hue as dramatically. So when we work with that, I like to use the transparent mixing white there. Mass tone looks identical to titanium white, but it's all in how it mixes. We're also going to use our acrylic inks. This is one of my favorite paint series that favorite paint series that we offer. There's 35 colors in the range. Don't let the name ink fool you, okay? It's not dye-based, it's pigment-based. So really, the way I think of it, we call it an ink because it's ink-like texture, but it's really just a very fluid acrylic paint.
Viscosity.
Yes, the
is what it
viscosity is
yeah.
like an ink. And you can pretty much do anything you can do with a traditional ink with the acrylic ink, except for fountain pens. Don't put it in printer cartridges, and definitely don't tattoo with it, and then call the tech line and say, my arm is swollen, and I just use your acrylic ink. Is that okay? No,
And
not
it's
okay.
like you've heard that before, and that's why
Right.
you're bringing it up.
Exactly, yes, yes. So don't do that. But pretty much else anything goes, that's an ink technique. Really good for printmaking as well. So I happen to choose our muted violet because I thought it was really lovely with the Diox. Kind of gives that more of like a shade without having to mix compared to the Diox purple. So we'll work with that too for another example. And of course, I forgot to add my bronze, so I could do that real quick. Got to have a couple metallics whenever you're talking holiday, right? You need a little
Some glitz.
little spark.
And for those viewers who are just joining us, just a reminder, you're not using any sort of fabric medium to mix these paints with.
Thanks.
You're just painting directly onto the clean washed
got it.
fabric.
Yeah, no fabric medium needed at all. You just paint directly on the clean fabric for this. Fabric medium, we do offer it, but that's really if you're using a thicker body paint and you want to keep the paint more pliable or flexible, you can mix that with it, and then if it's thicker texture, it's going to have a little enhanced flexibility. So I don't know how well you can see that shimmer, but up close you can see it.
You can see it.
So that's just to have a little pop of.
That's really a nice bronze too.
Yeah.
It's very bronzy. Where a lot of them say bronze and it just looks like an antique gold or something.
Ah, okay, yeah, good. Good, good. So those are the colors we're going to use. Anything, Amy, you think we should add?
No. I
Nope,
mean, I think
okay.
that's
Good to go on?
Yeah.
Okay.
all makes sense to me.
Good. All right. So, yeah, this is the piece, or this is the idea of the piece we're going to make. This is obviously a placemat. We're making a table runner today because when you're thinking functional art, you have art that can adorn the body. You can have art that adorns your kitchen, tableware, whatever. All sorts of ways to have functional, usable, holdable art. So I thought it would be fun if we made a large table runner with printmaking and the soft body. So this is kind of the idea of what we're going to do. And Amy said she'd help me, so that's good. All right, so
Put it to work.
yes.
Mhm.
So we'll save that for the next thing here. So I think it would have been nice if I could have found something in my house to kind of upcycle. So maybe you have that at home, something like a piece of fabric that you're done with, but you don't really want to throw it out. Maybe you want to decorate it and repurpose it, right? You could certainly do that. For the purpose of kind of showing the paint, I decided just to order a blank table runner. This happens to be linen, but like I said, you could use whatever fabric you want. Just wash it. Since it's linen, I did need to iron it pretty obviously, and even just in travel, it's a little bit wrinkled, but that's okay. It's not going to affect the print.
You could just breathe and it'd be wrinkled.
Yes,
because it's linen, so
exactly. Yeah, there you
I
go.
think we all
Right.
are used to that.
All right, so that's our fabric. But let's talk about how we're going to print on it. There's a ton of different ways to do printmaking. I'm certainly not going to talk about every single one. The example I just showed happened to use block print, so that's the one I wanted to start with. And we'll show a couple more at the end that you could try too if you're into this whole idea. But this is, there's lots of things you can carve with. I really like this soft kind of vinyl block. This is something that I just cut this piece off of. And it's really nice and easy to cut with these tools. What's the specific name? Just, is it lino cutter or okay, so like a lino cutter tool. I hadn't used mine in a while, but I still had them because they last forever and they're really handy to use. There's various tips you can use, but I'll show you at least 2 here. And since we've got kind of a autumn leaf theme, I thought we could do like a stylized leaf to add to the whole mix here. I've got just a marker to kind of draw my thicker line, just to work as an aid in cutting. You certainly don't have to do it this way. It just helps me to have the drawing on the surface. And we can just add that as a little kind of accent. So what I want to do is I want the raised part of the print to be the line work. So in order to do that, I'm going to have to cut away most of the rest of the block here. And so that's where you take, I like this, I don't know what you call it, like
it's
a
like
kind of
wide
triangle.
gouge,
Okay,
kind of a,
wide
yeah.
gouge, okay. And if you start with a very gentle pressure at a corner, I probably shouldn't have my hand there, but yeah, you want to work away from yourself when you're when you're cutting, because if you're going like this, you're going to jab yourself or jab your finger, so you want to avoid that. But just gentle pressure is all you need to dig that gouge.
Guess Speedball makes a nice, like a little bench hook that you can also use as an inking pad.
Okay.
That I always put it in with against the lip because I don't ask
Hurt
me.
yourself.
Yeah.
Chunk some fingers out every once in a while.
Yeah.
I did that with my pumpkin.
Oh no.
Oh god. So you can do the just hugging the line with this.
Yeah, it's like a V groove, so it's
V
sharper. It's
groove,
coming
yeah.
down like this.
And it's okay if I cut off the edge. And I probably won't do the whole thing, just so you get the idea. It's very soft and easy to carve. But I did the outline here, and this is more of a shallow kind of U shape that's nice for digging out larger areas like this, just to clear it out. Because you want to remove as much of this as you can to get a cleaner print. Now sometimes printmakers will leave more for kind of an active mark, but if you want to get it cleaner, you just need to use this kind of a U-shaped tool to dig out more of the vinyl. Does that make sense, guys? Can you see that? I don't know. All right. Maybe what we should do, should I paint a little on that? Maybe we'll do that just to kind of show. I'm not going to cut the whole thing, do you think, for time's sake? Probably
No,
not?
yeah,
Okay.
no, there's no reason.
All right, so I'll just kind of give you the idea here. So you can see that the area I cut is going to be the negative space, and then the positive space is going to be the area that I cut around where I drew with the marker. All right?
Just slide it up a little and she
Oh,
can zoom
sorry.
in on it just to see, so it's a little easier to see it.
Okay.
There we go.
All right. So this isn't how you do the print. I'm just putting paint on it to clarify where the cut marks are. That's all. Obviously, if I wanted it cleaner, I just keep cutting and cutting, and that's what these blocks are over here. So I'll put that there. Thank you. Can you come to my studio and do that all day? No.
Yeah, right?
Because you have nothing
Towel,
better to
madam?
do, right?
Towel.
All right, so I'll move this out of the way. Okay. So back to our table runner here. If you'd like, you could tape the edges to get like that fun, clean tape edge peel when you're done, which is really
I'm
satisfying.
guessing that's how you did the
That's how I did
tablecloths,
that,
because I saw
yes.
those and I was like, oh wow, she's so clean. And then I was like, I bet she taped that off, because that's what I would have had
Yes,
done.
I definitely taped it off, partly because I just love peeling the tape back, and it's like, oh, clean edge. But assuming it's okay with you guys, Amy, I think you said it
Yeah.
was, we're just going to let it go over the edge.
No,
because
that's
that gives a
fine.
nice look too, I think.
Here, we can slide it up so
Okay.
that then when we've got it, it's... Actually, why don't we... Do you need
Yeah,
this
I don't
for...
really need that
Okay,
now.
because we'll put that down and then we'll be able to see up here a little bit more.
Okay.
Oh yeah, there we go. Kind of slide that
Oh,
further.
what am I saying? I do need it, but I can put it right here.
You can put it down. Yeah, put it down underneath.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. We don't need it. Yeah.
There we go.
That'll be good. Okay. Yeah? All right. So what I like to do, and again, there's not really a right or wrong to this, but I was just thinking it through design-wise. This was a larger block, or this is the largest block that I have that I cut. Thinking holiday, of course Thanksgiving's coming up, but really just if you wanted kind of like a warm, earthy, natural kind of table decor
Mhm.
or in your home. With these colors, I thought leaves were really nice and seed pods and that kind of thing. So this was the largest block I carved. You could use a brush like I did in the other example if that's what you have. I found the roller to be a lot more expedient though, because when you can just roll the paint on and go to town, it's a lot quicker way to work. So this is just a printmaking roller. And we've already got the transparent burnt sienna out. So this is the deep magenta. Oh, I guess I don't know if you can see it. That's okay. We'll move this over here while we do this part.
There you go.
Okay.
Just want to put that up there just so you'll.
Cool. Okay. So I was pretty messy with this in my studio, and so you certainly can be too. But you see how nicely and quickly that rolls out. And then if you want to, you could do it just direct like this if you want, or if you wanted to add another color, just because fall leaves have all sorts of colors, right? You can do that. Now, I don't like it if it gets too juicy because you might lose some of your detail, so just kind of work with it a little bit. And then you're ready to take your block and just carefully put it where you want it.
You go down a little bit more because our
Well,
we're
this
out
isn't
of. There we go.
No, put it right down here.
There we go.
All right. Okay, you said this was cool. Should
Yeah,
I use on this?
now if you were doing it from we're flipping it, you could do it with paper, like where you put it down on the block. It probably won't work. I mean, it might help some, but not. It would be more if you got the paper on top or the.
It might be better when we show the other
Yes.
idea. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So and here's the fun part. The wow, yeah, the wow part, right?
Ooh, those colors look nice together.
Yeah. So that's what we're gonna do, Amy.
Awesome.
Like 100,000 times.
Yeah.
Okay. No, not that many, but all right. So let's do this. I like to save this one towards the end. Do you have a different one? Do you want to use this one? Would you like to use this one? What do you want to do?
I think this is really a beautiful
Okay,
image.
yeah, then that's yours.
Okay.
So what I thought we should do too though, do I have time? Can I go get my other roller so we have dueling rollers? Do you think
Sure.
that would be good?
Right here.
Sure, she
you
can
go-
just grab
okay,
one. Katie's
okay.
great for grabbing stuff.
Awesome. Okay, and then we'll just put more color out. Oh yeah, I'm gonna mix some white with that. Now you can see I'm kind of separating the paint on here because the roller does take some
Takes up a lot of room.
space. That's just what we need for mixing, and then here's my transparent mixing white. Again, it looks like titanium, but
Would there be
It's a
any
softer mix.
issue using like pre-done rubber stamps to do this?
so would there be any issue using pre-done rubber stamps? Only if the rubber stamps are super fine, the acrylic might kind of gum it up. But yeah, if it's a bigger stamp, yeah, it'd be great. And that's too, a potato could work, an apple, a firm potato, apple, you could cut it and carve it. Soap can work, yeah, so. All right, so this way we can have several and not have to clean it every time. See, it happened.
No, well, that's good.
That means I'm here. That means
Yeah.
I'm here. All right, so I guess I'm gonna keep working with this
Okay.
one for a little bit. And what colors do you want?
And
And then,
I don't know. Surprise me.
okay. I really like this with a muted violet.
That would be really.
But-
Yeah. Sure. Works for me.
So obviously the ink is nice in a little container, but you can use it on here. You just have to be careful that it
Okay.
will, flood a little bit. And while you're doing that, I'm going to say something. So as
Okay.
Amy's has this going, it obviously spreads a little differently than the soft body. It's much more fluid. And when she rolls it on there, it's going to kind of look like it could be a little uneven, but I just found that it prints really nicely. So hopefully Amy will find that too.
You clean up where it kind of juiced over the edge when it was super. Do you try to wipe that up, or will it just kind of
That
be
depends
part
on,
of the?
I think that's part of it to
Okay.
me with the ink, because the ink is just going to be more fluid anyways. But you could try and clean it out if you wanted to. Nice.
Ooh, so pretty.
Nice. So I'm wondering.
One of our YouTube viewers asked a little bit earlier in the chat, when the soft body acrylic paints dry, will they dry stiff or will they be soft and flexible?
That's a great question. Will the soft body be flexible or more stiff when dry? Acrylics, including soft body, remain flexible when dry. Okay, they don't get more brittle or harden as they dry. They remain flexible, so they're perfect for fabric for that reason. Great question.
Now, can I pull a little of this color
Yeah,
into it?
do what
just
you
to
want.
try
Yeah,
it?
of course.
Can you
Yes,
push
the
yours up a
inks.
little further?
Oh, push yours up a little
Push
further.
the, okay.
The inks and the soft body are fully compatible. So please know that. Sometimes we separate them just because they're different ranges, but chemically you can mix them together. The entire acrylic range is fully intermixable, and so it's a really just a fun way to work. When you mix the ink with soft body, you'll get something in between those two textures, right?
That's what I was curious about.
See if you're gonna get that. Yeah. Oops, sorry.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, if there's any more questions, I can...
You might have said this before, but if there was a Thanksgiving mishap and something spilled on it, could you machine wash it?
That's a good question. If there's some kind of mishap, can you machine wash it? It all depends on the fabric, but as far as acrylics go, yes. We all know if we accidentally get acrylic something that on, some clothing that we didn't want it on,
Couch.
yeah, it won't come out. So yeah, couch. So yeah, it's
Ooh, that's so
usually,
pretty.
as long as it's been dry for at least 3 days. Uh-oh, what are you
That's fine.
throwing? No.
I know, right? I like
You're
that,
good
how
to go.
soft that is with those two colors together.
Oh yeah, I like that too.
It's a nice,
Soften.
gave it a little bit more body to,
Mhm.
like, for a little cleaner transfer.
Yeah, you're right. Look at that.
Just slightly less fluid. Like, it didn't need to be that much less, just a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, see these little over marks or whatever you'd want to call them. If I were super fastidious, I could get my tool out and carve it down and get rid of that. I happen to like those kind of marks because I think it shows the handmade
Yeah.
quality, but it also, I think it activates it too. So I'm kind of a fan of those little things. But if you're not, just get your carving tool. Wherever you see little blips of paint where you don't want it, just carve it off, and you can keep perfecting your print that way for sure. All right, so
These are beautiful. I love this shape.
I love that shape too.
When you're putting
yeah.
them out, I want to use
You want to use that one?
I want to use that one.
I didn't mean to take.
No, it's just, they're all very beautiful. Little acorn is really
Wow, it's beautiful.
just,
I mean, gosh,
they're just really beautiful organic shapes.
yeah, walking around.
The design of them is really nice, and it's easy to see. It's, oh, look at the color of that.
Good.
That's beautiful. Yeah,
All right.
very nicely crafted.
Thank you. All right, so should we keep going? I kind of
Yeah.
took the paint away from you.
No, that's fine. It's hard for me to stamp it with one hand anyway
Oh.
and then pull it up, actually.
Yeah, I gotcha.
So, not that I did not absolutely enjoy it. It was just this one was stuck, and I'm like, I can't pull it
I
up.
know,
That's why I knocked everything down.
Oh, I gotcha.
I was trying to.
So for design, you don't, and see, to me that doesn't bother me. If
pull
you,
it down for
oh,
just a
sorry,
second. So
yeah,
it's just right in that little.
in that area.
There we go.
I put the last print I did here, and you see how there's kind of a blank space right there? Again, that doesn't bother me because as I put things on the edge, I'm going to have kind of a uniform gap. But if I would have gotten a little more purposeful with my stamping, I probably could have clarified that a little bit. So just like everything, it takes practice to get the results that you want, but it really should be fun. And when I was thinking about this, I was like, I hope you have a you can do this vibe from this project.
Oh,
Because it's
definitely.
it's just a fun thing and pretty relaxing too, if you let it be, that is. All right. So red oxide, I didn't put any of that out. To be honest, red oxide is not a color that I typically, look at that. So I have an apron and that helps. But red oxide is not typically a color I gravitate towards. I don't know. We all have our favorites, right?
Mhm.
But sorry, yeah.
Just kind of the way.
I really enjoyed working with it for this.
Well, for this, it's like ideal.
It's perfect, right?
Yeah.
So,
The opacity of it's nice. A nice kind of juxtaposition against the transparent and the semi-transparent.
right.
Ugh,
And on
that's
this
beautiful.
neutral color, I just like,
Yeah.
wow. And that's what excited
Yeah.
me too. I mean, we have so many colors and you may not need every one, but every once in a while it can be really liberating to try some other colors that you may not have used before because you might really like it depending on the technique you're using.
Well, look how nicely that plays with the, like, the colors. It just really makes it, in looking, I can see it on the monitor up
Oh.
there. Just,
Oh,
that's-
yeah,
it's
look
so
at that, the
nice. You can
contrast.
really see some of the transparency and where some of it's got a little bit more opaque or semi-opaque and then more transparent. They play really nicely with each other, like leaves out in the yard do.
Yep.
You know, that
Yeah.
where some of them are starting to kind of break up and some of this is really captures that spirit of it.
Right.
Of the,
Different levels of decay
Yeah,
or
yeah.
change for sure. Yeah. That's good. I keep doing. Oh, may I get a palette knife? I'm sorry, I knew I wasn't going to think of everything.
hold on. I've got
There's a bunch right over here.
I've got tons all over the place. Amy, we got the bigger one here.
I've got one right here. Found one.
Awesome, thank you. So let me jump this back over here to show you guys. Oh, look at that.
Take a palette knife.
Okay.
Take a palette knife.
So here's my Diox Violet, and I think it's all right. If you want a really clean print, you may not want to put your palette right on top of what you just printed, but I'm going to be pretty careful with it, so I think I can make this work. But this is the Diox Purple and the Transparent Mixing White.
I love how that just gives it some body of color.
It kind of melts into it. It doesn't dominate it. I love the Transparent Mixing White, and it's just, yeah, that's the kind of thing I learned from being part of TFAC. So, all right. So, if you wanted, you could clean. In fact, I think I'm going to clean just a little bit off of here. These are just handy wipes you had, right? Amy? So,
Yeah, the Soho wipes.
yeah. And so that kind of gets some of the residue off, but again, it doesn't have to be super perfect. And maybe just a little hint of that color.
So pretty.
I find it really weird that some of these colors went together as nicely as they
Yeah,
did.
that's gorgeous.
It's-
You can print it right next to it. There's like, oh yeah, there we go.
yeah, okay.
It's gonna be nice and easy to see.
Would the muted inks by Liquitex work for this?
Yes, and in fact, oh, look at that. I like
You don't like
that.
it?
No, I do like it.
Oh, I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, no, that's beautiful.
No, I do like it. So the muted inks, yes, and in fact, let's do that. I think Amy had put out the muted violet,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how she got
Yeah,
this one.
with a little bit of the magenta.
Yeah. So
with
and then
it.
this was the muted violet on its own, but any of the colors would work depending on what kind of palette you want to use. I'm just partial to the violet. So at some point I could get a little muddy here, but we'll see. We'll see. It's a nice thing with leaves. You could kind of push it.
Ooh. That's nice.
And then would the soft body paints work with stenciling / can you paint right onto it with a brush, the fabric?
Yes, you can. You can certainly paint onto it with a brush, and the inks are really nice for that. And in fact, that's something. Oh yeah.
Would you want to make sure to keep your paint relatively thin when you brush it on?
I would say so. The inks, however, are already naturally thin. Like, let's take some of this bronze and let's just do a little. Is that going to be on here if I do it right here?
Yeah.
That's probably pretty small. I'll tell you what, let me do the other stencil or the other block. I'll show you right now what it'll do. More of my deep magenta here.
How long would you say the open working time for this medium is with these paints?
So open working time, great question. A lot of it depends on your studio environment. If it's hot or dry when you're working, you're gonna have less time. If it's humid and raining, oh, I'm doing the wrong one. If it's humid and raining, you're gonna have more working time. But it's kind of what we were talking about at the beginning. Like if you have a thin amount like you have right here, touch dry in probably 10 minutes. And in fact,
Yeah, these were already touch dry.
yeah, on fabric, the
From the
fabric,
print.
yeah, the fabric soaks in the paint, so it dries almost instantly, but not quite. On canvas like this that's primed, it's going to take a little bit longer to dry. Acrylics dry through evaporation, so it's a pretty quick process in general. Okay, so this is the muted violet. Put that down. And then add some of the bronze ink for the other question. So that's a fun too. You can work with this, and then if you have negative space areas that you want to just have a little pop of a metallic accent, you can certainly do that and paint on it like that person was asking. It's really easy to do with the inks, and naturally they're not going to get too thick because they're ink texture. All right, let's see what else here.
I'm just really in love with that.
You like that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost like a raw umber in a way. Like it reads initially as that, and then you realize it's not.
It's
you know?
multi-tone.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right.
It's just like out of the corner of your eye. That's kind of what it. Where you want to place it color-wise.
Right. Just fun pulling the print, guys. Okay. I'll block some more of these in so we can layer some other colors with it. See, it's very quick, and once you get the carving part takes some time, but once you get that done, you can cover a lot of area quite quickly.
Is there any difference in how the metallics stamp onto the fabric than how the flat colors stamp?
That's a great question. So let's show that. Let's take the bright gold. And with the metallics, with the inks, you want to give it a little bit of a shake, just because they are pigment based and those heavy pigments will settle. And then sometimes you got to use a little strength here to get the bottle off, or the cap off.
Seems like the first open on those is a little harder, and then it's easier after that.
These are,
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want it to
exactly.
be-
Yeah, you don't want it empty when you get it from shipping. Yeah.
so what I usually do, I'll shake it to get the pigments going, and then I'll give it a few squeezes just to kind of churn up the pigment at the bottom. But yeah, we'll put some of it here. And, oh, sorry, that's off, isn't it? It's probably dry.
While you do that, we have some questions about whether or not you can use the gouache with this.
So that's a good question. Gouache, I would think
Your
would dry.
gouache should be waterproof. It's
Oh yeah,
other acrylic gouache though is water resistant.
Yeah.
So it would have to be a Liquitex.
yeah. If you're talking
For
the
the
acrylic
permanence.
gouache, yes, you
They're
could.
talking about Liquitex gouache
Oh
in
yeah,
specific.
yeah. If you're talking Liquitex acrylic gouache, you certainly could do that. You certainly could do this because it's very similar in texture to the soft body, and so yeah.
It's just matte. So
I was under the impression that the acrylic gouache was a little more brittle when it dried.
No,
Not for
traditional
theirs.
gouache
Not
is.
theirs,
Yeah,
not theirs.
yeah. Acrylic gouache is not. It's just as flexible. Our acrylic gouache is just
Yeah,
as flexible.
they've
as-
designed theirs to be more flexible.
Yeah, so that's a great question that you certainly could. So whomever asked about the metallic, I know it's hard to see on here, but because you can layer it, and you'll see the shimmer effect on that darker value color really nicely. And then on the lighter tone, it's a little bit softer. But the more you do, like if you're really into that kind of shimmer and pop, you can do more. And if you just want a hint of it, you just do less. But it's, definitely up close, you can see that kind of sparkle. So.
Do you have any tips about planning your composition when you do this?
So I would say the biggest tip I have for planning composition is start with your bigger block first, just because you kind of want to space that out depending on your design. I went with more of like a random overtop view, kind of like you're looking down on leaves on the ground kind of thing. If you wanted a more pattern design, you can certainly do that, where you're just like alternating one particular stamp back and forth. And so in that case, you may just start your design at one part of your piece and work towards the other direction, if that makes sense. But for this kind of freeform design, I start with a bigger block, and I'm just kind of eyeballing it, honestly, just to kind of look to see what I think works. Do you have a tip for if you wanted to get more scientific about it? I just kind of...
You were really good at eyeballing out, kind of mentally blocking in where it's, even though it's scattered and kind of random, it's still even.
Okay, yeah.
You know? Which with a little bit of a few variables where they're a little closer together, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I mean, you could always take it and draw it on a piece of paper and just
That's true.
just sketch in a very not even, it didn't have to look just like this leaf, but have a shape for each of the shapes that you're going to be doing, and kind of see with those if it's played in right, without having to get the paint out, without having to waste paint, without stamp.
true.
Right. So I mean, you can do a layout without wasting these materials.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point too. Yeah, and she mentioned you could take leaves and lay it out.
Right.
But yeah, certainly there's lots of ways you could do it to get your layout down first. That's a good question though.
Well, and even over time, these do soften up and they're not as crisp.
Right.
So you want to only use them when you're actually printing a finished product, not
okay.
not like printing it on paper where you're going to start kind of compressing that,
Okay.
kind of using the, I guess, long-lasting number of prints you can get out of this kind
So
of
it's a bit
willy-nilly.
limited. Okay. Yeah, you want to make it count. In other
Yeah.
words, Yep. Okay. I think we're almost done with the big one here, and then we'll start adding a little bit the other ones.
Yeah, like the, she's got some really great random sizes of all these little blocks. From big to little. All sorts of neat little shapes that kind of add interest from everything. I mean, this would be pretty just if you like kind of a plainer look, to not do as many as heavy, but then if you like it to be really ornate but add interest, there's all sorts of different sizes and shapes that really add a whole lot of interest to your work.
Yes, and you can go, you could have many shapes. You could just really, like on this one, we talked about how we both love the shape. This
Yes.
one was just this
that's
one
gorgeous.
shape alternated. So
Lit up with a little bit more space. There you go.
one shape alternated, right? And so what's really fun about that process too is you can really start to see the pattern that you didn't even know was there, if that makes sense. Like when you carve it, you're like, well, I like this shape, but then when you try and make it work together, you get the negative space. That's fun too. So it just kind of depends on what you're going for. And honestly, a lot of it, just like probably a lot of art is having fun with it, playing with it, not being afraid to make some mistakes. I used a lot of before I started working on a table runner, I used a lot of dish towels that were a lot more cost effective to start with. Or like I said too, if you have some kind of dish towel that you don't want to throw out yet, but it needs some sprucing up, that's another way to do it pretty economically, just to kind of get some of your ideas out. And then if you like it, then you can kind of upgrade to a fabric that you want to spend a little money on. And
That's a good point.
so, I think one more of these, and then, all right. And when you're working, like, who loves to clean their tools? No one, right? So, and I'm included in that. So what I would do in my studio is I just put them face down on something to keep it from drying out as quickly. And because it's a vinyl block, the acrylic won't be permanent on it. So even though it would dry, you can wash it off with soap. I just kind of did that to keep it from drying out so quickly on there. So, did you want to do any more, Amy? Or
It's hard,
too hard for
me
you?
to pull
Okay.
it up, though. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
love nothing
So-
more, because printmaking, I love, printmaking is very zen.
Yeah,
I love
it is.
the reveal each time, and
Yes.
the inking is very zen, and yeah.
It is.
I used to always do a Christmas print to sell, and it wasn't so much that I wanted the Christmas print to sell. I mean, it was nice to have the money, but it was the stressful time, and it was the sitting down and that repetitiveness of
Okay. Zoning
inking a
into it.
block and printing and inking the block and printing and just, you know, that,
Nice.
yeah, was very relaxing.
I'll try your soft body with that muted violet and see if I can get a similar.
I love the palette pad.
The
I
what?
thought it was
Yeah.
so pretty.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny you say that because when I had these colors in my studio, I was like, oh yeah, I don't know if they're gonna work, but I love.
Oh, yeah.
I
no,
even
they look
like
really nice together.
took a photo of it because it was like one of those happy accident things. So.
And you've got some other projects to show us as well.
Yes.
Near the
So-
end, we've got about 15 minutes. We still
Oh,
have lots
okay.
of time to play on this, but I just want
Okay.
to make sure
Well, yeah.
that because I got the sneak peek from when I was like, oh,
You're like, well,
Yeah.
make sure we talk about it.
And can you touch on cleanup too?
Yes, let's do that. So with the blocks, like I said, if the acrylic dries on there, that's okay. It's vinyl. It will come off with soap and water. Acrylics clean up off of your skin with soap and water also. That art guard that we put on at the beginning helps it clean up more cleanly too. Off of these tools, same thing. Amy had the wipes here that we were able to use and cleans up nicely. Just really soap and water cleanup for all the acrylic. If it gets somewhere, on your clothes and you didn't want it on there, if you put acrylics that are fresh, if you scrub it with water and a little bit of soap, it'll come off if you really work on it, unless it's like a staining color. But if it's a color that pretty much, except for the diox, most of these would come off if you were to really scrub it. So I hope that made sense for cleanup. But let's add a little accent of the cadmium free. I think Jimmy came and talked about the CAD-free colors, right?
yes, he did.
Yeah, so,
And that's been, was it 2 years ago now? No,
It was the end of
it
last
was
year.
like last year.
okay, yeah. So I'm one of those like, no, don't take the color. So, oh, sorry, I'm distracting myself. But you see that little blip? Yeah, maybe I want to get rid of that. So I'm going to take this stamp and just kind of put it on top, the CAD free. And if I, look,
Ooh,
so I
that's
missed a
pretty.
little spot there. If I don't like that, this is where I might take my brush and just kind of brush it on this stamp. Now, this is one of those moments where you might kick yourself like, oh man, I can't line it up. Or if you're just willing to let it be, you might, like that kind of fixed it a little bit,
Yeah,
right?
but
So it's
If
kind
you
of,
didn't point it out, I don't think anybody would know.
well, yeah, so. Okay, I distracted myself with the CAD free, yeah. So Jimmy talked about it. I really enjoyed working with him. I don't see difference between the genuine CAD and the cadmium free. I love the opacity and vibrancy of them. And the biggest thing, and I know I'm using it straight here, but the CAD free colors, when you mix them with titanium white or any other color, that was a problem with CAD hues, is that they would not stand up in a
Yes.
mix.
No,
The
no.
CAD free definitely does.
Yes.
So
In mass tone and
Yes.
mixtures.
yeah,
It was like color mixing, because, yeah,
Yeah.
hues usually went, or else got really dirty really fast
Mhm.
because of the multiple pigments.
exactly.
That was when you guys, when they sent those for me to try, I was like, this is never going to work. And then, and then Katie could hear me going, oh my God.
Yeah.
And they're like, what's, it's
What
like,
are you
no, look,
doing?"
this is, what's sorcery? Yeah, it was a very cool moment.
Oh, cat free was 2 years ago.
That's
See, I was
crazy.
doing
Finish
it.
washing, and then I was scale 39.
Wow. Oh my
I don't know where
gosh.
time
And
goes. I
last
thought it
year
was
was
like-
the gouache that we.
So it was a
So,
little
yeah.
less than 100 episodes ago. He was here for that. Wow. Wow.
So we were talking about potato apple. I was so proud of this, so I have to show it before we move on. But this is like an old eraser that I found that you can carve.
Yeah.
So, you know, just, you might have stuff around your house you can use to carve with. So let's move this on. So you get the idea. You just can, like Amy said, it's a very zen process. You can keep going over and over. You could stop and have it be sparse or add more as you want. So that's kind of the idea with this. And it's already pretty dry, so I think I can just move it over here. All right, so,
I'll show this first.
Yeah.
all right. So that was using block printing. This piece is done with taking actual leaves and just putting the ink, or the soft body or the ink directly on it. And this is my little test piece here.
Oh, that's like a flour sackcloth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this, I'll put a paper towel in
Okay.
it. So this is where your fancy
Yeah.
brayer will come in. So I put a paper towel on top so I don't get it all messed up. But you can just put some pressure down, and then you won't get it all over your hands like I did at home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the paint kind of dried a little bit, but you can see how you could do that. Like these were done in the same
Mhm.
way. So this gives you the really lovely texture of the leaf, and or whatever sticks or whatever you find you could do that with. So that's how this one was done. This was like a silhouette technique where you just take the leaf and you put it down on the surface and you just paint away from the leaf. So, for example, take that same leaf and I'm just holding it down. Am I in the thing here? Yeah. I'm just holding it down. And then when you move it, you see the silhouette. So
Yeah.
you could really do that all over and over again for kind of a nice...
It's almost like a tie-dyed look, but with like these really nice negative spaces in a way.
Yeah. This was my
Isn't
husband's favorite, so gotta show
That's
that
really
for
pretty.
him. So,
Oh yeah, that's really nice.
but yeah, that's where you can see that
Yeah, that's
transparency and
really nice.
opacity
Yeah.
come in. So, and then this,
So pretty.
I know that's that bronze.
Uh huh. Yeah.
This is even more different. Okay, so those are all kind of variations on a theme. Now we're switching up a little bit more with the beginning part of the piece. So this is that flour sack towel, but we took something called Flow-Aid, and Flow-Aid is one of our additives, and it's different than a medium. Mediums you can mix in whatever proportion you want to the color. Flow-Aid is you become the chemist when you're working with this, and all that means is it adjusts what your paint will do. But if you just dump a whole bunch in, or if you use it straight, it could compromise the drying of your paint. So with Flow-Aid, what you want to do, Amy got me some water here. You want to dilute it in about 1 part Flow-Aid to 20 parts water. I'm going to guess here because we're not going to sit and measure it all out, but we'll take, she's got a volume here that's, I'm just going to say is going to work, but take about maybe 2 capfuls to that volume of water. As you can see, it's very, very fluid. And this is the dirty water here that I'm using, not the Flow-Aid part. But you take, to get this kind of soft effect, you use Flow-Aid as your working water instead of regular old tap water. And what it will do for you is it makes water wetter, is one way you could say it, which is a little cumbersome, but
Wetter water.
wetter water. And bigger brushes are good, but you work
Do you
with
need
what you
something bigger?
have. This is all right.
It's like 'cause you can just grab. There's a big fat filbert right there if you want.
Big fat filbert.
Yeah, right in the front. Yeah, that'll
This
work too.
one?
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you were talking about something else.
That's okay.
Okay.
There's one I knew the sizing was out of like right in the front, but it'll work.
Okay. Okay, so again, I'm not being super precise here, but I'm just getting the fabric soaked with the Flow-Aid. Inks are fantastic with Flow-Aid surface. So back to my muted violet. And you can see on the
Wow.
on
Look
the
at
fluid
that,
it
how
just starts to
chases
blend.
out. Yeah.
Here's some non-flowed areas, so you can see how it doesn't
Wow,
flow
yeah.
the same way. You can see that. But that's how this background was done, just alternating muted violet, like I have here, and you don't have to leave that pattern. I would brush it out, and then I use some. Actually, use the diox. And you see how you can
Wow.
use the soft body too. The inks are kind of already
Yeah, a
ready to
little
go.
easier being
Mhm.
already fluid, but still, look at that, how much that thins.
So then, obviously I'm just kind of showing it's not super designed here, but if you had it designed out in whatever pattern you want, you can use, and again, you don't have to use two colors, use whatever you want, but you need to let it dry first, and then to get this effect, I took just more blocks that I had and just stamps on top, okay? So not that one. Oh yeah, that one. So just stamped on top of it, all right? So it gives you that soft. This was more paint, this was less on this, and then the gold and bronze on top of that. This is where the titanium white shines. We weren't trying to diss it earlier, talking about transparent white, but the titanium white is really lovely for printing on top of darker value colors because it just sits on top and it pops. So that's what I like to use on there. And then if you don't want to mess with doing a flowy background, you could use like whatever, you could just get a napkin like this that's already has a color to it, and all this is one or two silhouettes, or two blocks, sorry, with the titanium white, and then put the gold ink on that. So that's another look you can do.
That shows up so nice.
Oh,
wow.
good. Yeah. I will tell you, if you feel this, you will feel a little bit of texture. The inks, that's a thicker layer, but the inks will have a little less physical texture to them. So just be aware of that. It's just the slightly different texture of the paint itself. So what else? What else could I say
Ooh,
here?
That's really pretty.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. So this had the Floyd 2.
Just since there's a little bit lighter colors on it, it's just really pretty. And you can see the stamping with the ink
Yes.
as well.
So I was kind of thinking it through, like, because when I ordered a table runner, I was like, it's $20,
Yeah.
I mean, not cheap. So I was like, could you get away with doing this if you just bought some muslin? I think that's what this is.
Yeah.
And
so it looks like.
that's all it is. I even like the rough edge. And so literally this was maybe $3. And then
Wow.
just spend your money on the paint and the block. But then you have the blocks to use for many times. And
Look how
it's
vibrant
pretty.
that is with just.
Yeah, it's that Floyd background and then just a
Wow.
different stamp on top. But yeah, a pretty economical way to get a large piece.
This is really nice.
Thanks. Yeah, so I think this is one of those where all art is that way. It's helpful to see in person, but hopefully you get the idea. This is where I didn't iron this one, and so when you're brushing the Floyd on, it kind of caught the texture of the fabric and bled with that.
It kind of looks cool though. It looks like it was like done like that on purpose. It almost looks like how painted on suede or something.
Oh yeah, that's a
Like the
good
texture looks a
observation.
lot like suede.
Yeah, it really does. Good eye, Amy. I like that.
So you just tell
I
them
did
that was on purpose.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Artistic license.
Yes, definitely. What I thought was neat too, some colors, and I guess because of the pigment texture, behave a little differently with the Floyd base than others. So this is a red oxide. It's a heavier pigment particle, and as such, it kind of just like with watercolor, the
Yeah.
pigment particles are going to do different things with the body of the Floyd water. So this kind of held its shape a little more dramatically. This, I think, was the diox and the deep magenta, and it was much more staining with the Floyd. So the more you learn about the pigment characteristics, the more you'll see, yeah,
Can you use a masking fluid to block out the shapes?
that's a great question. I would say yes, you can, except on the fabric. It may not come off. Huh? Yeah, okay, so forget that. You probably can't.
What
use
about
it.
some of the like the waxes that are specifically designed for
For
silk
batik?
painting?
Mm.
Yeah.
Batik? Yeah, you could do that for batik.
I mean, the only thing I could see is if you were putting the Floyd in, it might come up and around the back behind it, potentially, because
Yes.
silk's really porous, right?
Yes,
So it would.
and
So it would kind of go through and block it out both ways, and then you have to wash it out.
Right.
You'd have to be careful probably how wet you made it. Again, trying it first.
Trying it first. Yeah, that's true.
Do like a,
I bet if you didn't saturate it, it probably would work batik wise, but if you did, it would probably go under. So yeah, I agree. Yeah, and even this, yeah, it some colors are going to be staining, some are going to go under, some are going to sit more nicely on the surface. So yeah.
yeah, the white shows up really nice.
Yeah.
That's good, that the difference of, I think your chart that really showed with the transparent white and then the titanium white, that mixing with, it's one thing different side by side, nobody can really tell unless
Right.
they're right up on it, but
Yeah.
showing the colors mixed with it, that was huge.
It makes a difference, right? Yeah, because then you can see, like, that would be a color that you'd be at the store, you have a certain amount of money, and you'd be at Jerry's and you're like, I have X amount of money, titanium white, everyone's heard of that, everyone's used it, transparent mixing white, why bother? But I'm telling you, that color is a really useful color, but of course titanium is too. It just, the more you
Different
experiment,
applications, yeah.
yeah, the more you'll get to learn what colors work for your particular vision more readily.
Are there any permanent types of masking fluids or?
Yes, Winsor Newton, we make, is a sister company, and we make a permanent masking fluid. So yes, that's a good idea, I bet. And you know what, you could use acrylic mediums to do that too. So you could even take like the Liquitex glazing medium, brush it down, let it dry, and then you can paint around it. Yeah, or do the flow aid around it. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Excuse me.
That's a
Yeah,
good
yeah,
idea,
yeah.
whoever thought of that. So,
Side.
okay.
So, a guest that brings cough drops. Real keeper, Jimmy. You're not getting it back, Jimmy.
More questions, guys? Cleanup, anything like that?
I think this is awesome. You've shown all sorts of different things that you can do, given all sorts of ideas.
Good.
I mean, from cutting the blocks down yourself to even printing on, colored fabrics, how to mask it off on the edges. I mean, this is like a huge project. All sorts of great ideas
Good,
for people to be able to take and employ.
good, good.
And in using the brayers to really spread that out, it works beautifully as a printmaking paint.
Yes.
So I'm really impressed with that, what that soft body got down to, the texture. Just slightly more viscous than like regular printing ink, which is nice because you need that with the fabric. It's got to go in and soak in enough but still sit on top.
Right.
So
Definitely.
very cool. And 72 hours you said that needs to
Yes.
set
Yes.
before it's waterproof. So which
Right.
Apparently is why it's easier to clean it up with soap and water on your clothes. Like
Beforehand.
immediately. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Would you wash that in cold water or warm water? Does it matter?
Washing in cold, warm. What I always say is put it on permanent press or gentle cycle. And sure, cold water is typically more preserves the color, or not the color, but it is a little gentle on the fabric. But I would say that's something where it really depends on what fabric you're using. So just follow whatever it says for the fabric. That's usually what I do. With the inks, I've done silk blanks with straight out of the bottle, and you just are supposed to hand wash silk. So, and it's fine with that too. Just let it dry for 72 hours. So it's really all about what the fabric wants you to do. The paint, if it's dry, it's going to stay there. So that's the thing to know about that.
Awesome. Well, if there's no last questions, guys, anything more? Hopefully this has been something that's given some people some really awesome ideas for Christmas gifts or even a family fun project on a rainy day to get everybody involved, even something where little people could take these after they've already been cut out by an adult and actually maybe even print something for grandma and grandpa as a gift. So
Yeah.
that's great. Functional art.
Yay. We love functional art.
I've already got like 3 projects planned for the next 2 months.
Yay. Good. Good.
Well, Marla, thank you so much for coming. We really
Yeah.
appreciate it. And we appreciate all the great ideas and kind of a better insight to see really what Liquitex, the soft body, can really do besides just fine art, kind of all the applications that it's got. It's a really great paint.
Good. Yeah. It's very versatile. Yay. I'm glad that found it valuable, and it was super fun for me to do. So hopefully it will be for you too. You try it. So.
Very cool. Well, next week, it is the holiday gift idea episode already. I can't believe next week is Thanksgiving already. The time has just flown by. But so we have come up with, I don't even remember how many sets, because I come up with sets for this episode. We do all sorts of like a set for a beginner drawer, you know, for beginner,
okay.
someone that's doing beginning drawing to more advanced to more, you know, all sorts of targeted sets for specific levels and specific price points. So it's a great way to do some shopping for other people, or even I threw in a couple things this year that were like things that you may want for your own studio as kind of like finally buy yourself a really decent, you know, mixed media easel or you know, a tabaret or things like that. So, so that is going to be next week. So we will see you next week for that. Thanks again for everybody at Art of the Carolinas, and thank you, Marla, so much for coming all the way from Texas to do this episode with us. So we will see you guys. Take care. Bye-bye.